Hey, what's up? Welcome to Project Freelance. My name is Kay Nagonio, and this week on the podcast, I am joined by a friend of mine, DJ Kode Break. This guy is a DJ and hype man for a rapper named Futuristic. If you haven't heard of Futuristic, he has a new album out right now. It is called I Am. You should go check it out. You should check out all of his music, absolutely, but definitely check out I Am. It came out about 6 weeks ago. We're going to be talking a little bit about that, but we're mostly going to be talking about life on the road, touring, tour stories, and how DJ Kode Break has made a living while being on the road as a DJ and hype man. I've wanted to talk to this guy for a little while and decided to reconnect over Instagram, over social media. And so I truly appreciate you coming on the podcast this week. Before we get into it, I wanted to let you guys know, down in the description, there are a bunch of affiliate links to things that I recommend if you are a creator, if you're trying to create content, video cameras, audio equipment, all kinds of different stuff down in the description. Backpacks if you're traveling, if you need a camera bag, check it out down in the description. There's a bunch of Amazon affiliate links. I get a little bit of kickback if you guys use my links, so I do appreciate that. And if you guys want to support everything that I do as far as creative work goes, so that being the podcast, my music, photography, videography, anything like that, if you guys want to help support what I do, you can head over to patreon.com/justtheletterk. Over there, you can get perks like signed photo prints, discounts to merchandise, Skype calls every month. We can talk about music, photography, business, whatever you need to talk about, whatever you want to talk about, you can do so by hitting my Patreon. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Project Freelance. Let's get into it. DJ Kode Break, please introduce yourself and what it is you do to the audience.
My name is DJ Kode Break. I am a freelance DJ / producer, and I make most of my money doing tours across the country / world for Futuristic, but I work with many other artists. I've been doing it for about 7 years now. I've gone on probably 50 to 60 U.S. tours, 3 world tours, and in the downtime, I work with kids with autism, and that fills up my free time. It's rewarding, and I enjoy doing it.
Wow, I had no idea that you did that. That's amazing. You're such a good person. I love you. Oh my God. That's so cool, dude. How did you get into that?
That was a random occurrence, actually. One of my friends was like, he had a job at the dispensary. All the medical stuff happened out here in Arizona. And he was like, we're looking for people at the dispensary. And I was like, all right. He's like, go on Indeed, fill out a resume, and find us on there. I was like, all right. So I went and did it that night. And I couldn't find them on there at all. But while I was on there and I already made a resume, I was just scanning around and looking for jobs that sounded exciting and just was tossing my resume out there, not even thinking. And this company called me the next day, and I had a 30-minute conversation with them about, being a provider for special needs kids and just people in general. I didn't really know it was going to be kids at the time. And so I guess I aced the phone interview and didn't know it was a phone interview. I was just kind of talking, telling them what I do and stuff with the music and things like that. And they were like, all right, we'll come in tomorrow and pick up your new hire packet. And I was like, just confused because I didn't even know I was interviewing. And then I went in there, picked up my packet, and a week later I started working with a kid. And I've been with him over a year now, and it's just been great. It's really challenging, but also really fun. And like I said, rewarding, because at the end of the day, I'm making a difference. Even if it's in one person's life, it goes a long way, because this person's expected to be a part of the community eventually, and if I can have a hand in that, then it feels good to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's amazing that you do that. And I've got a brother who's got some special needs, and so I appreciate that a lot, you going out of your way to, because you're right, they are expected to be a part of the community, and there's got to be somebody there that can help guide them, and be there for them. So I think that's really rad that you do that.
Yeah, it's cool. It worked out because he's into music and stuff too. He can hear a song and tell you what key it's in, and if he hears it a couple times, he can almost play it on piano, almost right away. So it's cool to have somebody I work with who's also into music a little bit. It's not his main focus, but it's cool that he has the little talent there and, likes it when it's there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing that you, I'm sure, have the capability to help, push him in the right direction when it goes to music stuff. So for music, how long have you been into it? What got you into music in the first place?
I actually started doing music when I was 12. I'm 32 now. I was just, dicking around with my friends in little punk bands in the garage in middle school, on and off, was probably in like 4 or 5 different bands up until high school, and started actually gaining momentum with one of my bands. I was the lead vocalist, screamer, whatever you want to call it. You know how hard it is to tell people about that. But like, I sing, but also, it's not, singing all the time. But yeah, I was doing that, and once I moved to Arizona, I kind of fell off with my bandmates and was just by myself out here. I moved out here to do air conditioning. It was just a good opportunity when I was 18 to make some good money, and my life wasn't really going anywhere where I grew up, so I just kind of left and packed all my stuff up in a week, moved to Arizona, and when I was by myself, I realized I was still into music and wanted to fulfill that hole. Even though I wasn't really musically talented at all, I'd been around it and had an idea. And so I started buying production equipment and just researching and reading books. And, at that time, YouTube wasn't really a thing, so I didn't get to go to YouTube University and learn how to make beats and stuff. It was just old books and magazines and, things like that. And just learning from hearing music, listening to somebody's sound. I grew up in Virginia Beach, and Pharrell's from there. He's been one of my biggest influences just in life, just because I saw him play with a few people from there in front of like 20 people back in the day. Like, I'm talking back in the day. And to see where he's at now, it's just always been cool to see somebody where I'm from do that. So, I would emulate whatever he was doing in sounds, but also you want to make it your own. So when I got into production, the next step from that was like, okay, how do I get my music out there live again? Or like, I wanted to be on a stage again because I was just used to being a front man, but I didn't really want to be, like a rapper or a solo singer or anything. I didn't really feel like I had that much talent. So I was looking for other artists to work with. And I found myself into the DJ world because it was like, as a electronic producer, that was right about the wave when people were taking off, DJing. And the only way to DJ your own music, you had to make it yourself and get out there and play some shows and play other people's music and then sneak your own song in there here and there and see how people react to it and things like that. So I got my feet wet with that. I was actually trying to be a DJ on cruises right before I met Futuristic. I was applying through Disney to do all that, but their process is crazy. They don't joke around with people they want to hire. Disney doesn't play games. So I had to send in like an audition tape, and I was like, I just feel like that's really awkward, and I didn't really have like a highlight reel at the time. So I kind of stopped there, but actually during that week is when I met the contact I met to actually meet Futuristic and get that going. So when I linked up with him, I had like an audition that I didn't even realize was an audition at the time. I thought I was just hanging out with him and kicking it, and then he told me the next day that he had a couple other people come over earlier in the day and, DJ in front of them and stuff like that, and he called me and was like, hey, we got a show in 4 days. So I signed up with him, and that was 7 years ago. And that has brought me incredible opportunities and friends, and just, I've seen things I didn't think I was going to see in my life from doing that.
Wow, man. I can't believe that you've been with him for 7 years. That's crazy. Like, did you ever expect like your trajectory to like take off like that?
Not at all, actually. I try to live by just not having expectations in life. It's a hard thing to do, but I've just slowly been teaching myself that over the years to not expect anything out of anything, because, say you go into a movie, somebody told you about it and said it's really good. Already in your head, you're expecting it to be good. So if it's not, you're going to walk out of there like, oh, I didn't like it. But if you just go into it, open-minded and no expectations, you can have your own opinion on it and base it off that. So when I started with him, it was just kind of, I was just gaining experience. I wasn't really even making any money. I told him I wasn't trying to make any money. If it was there, it was cool. I had a job at the time. I was painting houses, making, $15-16 an hour with my roommates who all started a painting company. So I was chilling money-wise. But I was just looking to go out there and have fun and meet people and play music and just get back out there. And when I started with him, I just happened to start right when his wave was really taking off. So when I started with him, we had a show almost every week or weekend, and it just kind of went into tours after that, and we didn't stop touring for almost 4 or 5 years straight. We only had the wintertime off because nobody really tours during the wintertime. So from like Thanksgiving till, I don't know, about the end of February, we were home. But the rest of the year, it was just out there doing festivals and touring with people in the spring and the fall, just constantly. And then that's how I met other people that I was able to work with also, was just connecting and networking at shows and, just being out there.
Tell me about touring for the first time. What was that like for you? Like, you lived in this town, you moved to Arizona, and then suddenly you're on tour for like months and months at a time. Like, were you in a van? Were you like, what was your living situation like?
Our very first tour was definitely in a van, but we had done a couple little runs, just me and Futuristic, where I was driving a rental car. We would fly to like the Midwest because that's where he was originally based out of. And had a little more popularity than all over the country at the time. So we would fly out there, stay at his dad's house in Bloomington, Illinois, and just drive out from different cities from there and just kind of hit 4 or 5 shows in a row. And then when we actually got on our first tour, we were in a van, and we were just hanging out with them, with Dizzy Wright and them. And it was one of those things where when you're there, you're just kind of taking it all in, and it's not really, I was loving it. I live for this. I could sleep in a van all day. I want an RV when I'm older. I want to live that road life forever. But the very first tour was funny because I was kind of in my shell at that time. And the tour manager came up to me after the first show and was like, look, dude, I know what you look like and how you want to act. Like I'm covered in tattoos and I'm at a place in the hip hop world. I look like the punk rock kid. But I look like, the sound guy or something most of the time. But he had a talk with me after the show and was like, look, I know you're that crazy white guy, blah, 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 go out there and do it. And we were opening the show, so I was kind of holding back on, my energy and things like that. But he was like, the harder you guys go, you're going to get the crowd hype for, the headliner and stuff like that. So he put it in my head and kind of just unleashed the beast. And since that first tour, I kind of just go out there and don't really think about my body or my health, and I just go and let the music take over, and I deal with the pain later or whatever the situation is. It just kind of takes over. But the very first tour had me hooked. I knew that that's what I wanted to do because I didn't really have any goals as far as DJing goes until it really started happening. Then I was able to set goals and see goals that I didn't know were there. And that first tour really did it, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And we didn't stop doing it for a long time, and we moved up from, buses to, actually our second tour, we had an RV, and it was like the straight out of Breaking Bad, meth lab on wheels. There was 15 people in there. We thought we could go out and headline our tour in the middle of winter time. We thought we were hot shit, and, we did a couple tours, so we were like, let's go do our own thing, and took all these people, and it ended up being a nightmare. It was just all bad, and, so after that, we kind of took a step back and we're like, all right, let's just get back on with other people, start opening up for them. And, we built back up again to being on like a bandwagon and then the buses. Our first bus was actually Warped Tour, where I met you at. And that was a dream. Once we got to that, I was like, oh, we peaked, like it didn't get better than being on a bus at that point. Because moving up from the vans and the rental cars to the crappy RVs and all that, like it's just luxury when you're on a bus.
Yeah, and talk about, for people that have never gone on tour that may want to start touring, talk about what it feels like that first time you're in a bus. I feel like it's similar to the first time you get to go backstage at a show.
Oh yeah, it's a whole new world when you get on there. It's small, but it feels so big, especially if you did move up that ladder of, sleeping in a van with 15 people and laying on your buddy's shoulder just to take an uncomfortable nap, to having your own bunk. Like I didn't even know what to do with a bunk. I'm like, why don't we have a bed? And everyone's like, well, it's not that comfortable. I'm like, but it's a bed. It's like a place to lay down and sleep. And on Warped Tour, actually, I had the coffin bunk in the very back lounge of the bus, which I guess isn't a popular thing because the engine's there and nobody wants to sleep there. And I grabbed it right away. I was like, I'll take that spot. And I figured out really fast why nobody wanted it. It was loud back there, and it's the back lounge, so that's where everybody's always hanging out. Somebody's always doing something, but luckily I'm not like a big sleeper, so I'm usually up hanging out with everybody, just kind of taking in as much as I can on tour. That's what I like to do. Is if we go to a city, I'm not like, sitting on the bus and, really doing anything other than just trying to see as much as I can in a day, because you're only there for so long. So, the first couple times you go to a city, you do all the touristy stuff, the sites you want to see, and then after that you get kind of comfortable, your spots. You're like, oh, I gotta go get this burger from this place, you start building like I don't even know what to call it, like a book of just your spots that you have and must-see places. If somebody brand new on a tour, like this tour we're about to go on, we have 3 people who've never toured. So it's going to be fun to show them the places that, we know and like on tour, and then, they can find their own at the same time too. But being on something like that for the first time is just mind-blowing. And I know it's even crazy when you bring guests on. They're like, you live like this, and some people, it's not for them. It's not for everybody. A lot of people see the life and they want to live it, but it's a really tough life. Like, most people only see the really good things, and a lot of it is really good, but there's tough times. You're cramped up with people. You got to get along with everybody, even they're annoying you, or you've been with the same people for 60 days straight. Nobody's gonna have all good times for 60 days straight. I don't care who you are. You could be the best of friends, but your best friend will get on your nerves too. It's kind of like having siblings.
Yeah, after a day about 42, you're pretty much done with the tour at that point, but you still have those last couple of days to go. What is it like for you, like after 4 weeks in, 6 weeks in? What is your mental health like at that point, and how do you cope with being on the road? How do you keep mentally healthy?
Mentally for me isn't really that much of an issue, because that's where I feel more comfortable. And when I'm out there, my mind is free, and that's my escape. A lot of people, for them it's more work. If you're a tour manager, your work is you're stressing, running around, figuring out what people want and need, and yelling at venue people and blah blah blah. But for someone in my position, I only have so many things to worry about, so I can get my stuff done and be able to relax and just take stuff in. But mentally, I need my space from people. That's a big thing for me, just in general, in life. All my relationships, I just kind of need space at times, and people understand it or they don't. And so that's a big one for me. I recently just quit smoking cigarettes, but that for me was a big one where, if I needed some space, nobody really around me smoked, so I would just go outside and smoke, and that was my 5-10 minute barrier. I could take a couple of breaths and get away from everyone's noise and things like that, and then go back to it. I play a lot of video games, so I bring my Switch with me if I need to, just zone out in the world and play something else for a little bit. I have my music on. That's a big thing, usually just in my headphones or on the bus in general. We always have something on. Not everybody likes what I like to play all the time, but that's okay, because I don't always like what they want to hear. So that's one of the things we get into, just music taste. I can't listen to just hip hop for a whole tour, But my thing is physical is more. That's what I worry about and try to take care of more. I try to eat as good as I can, and I'm a big beverage guy. Like I'm good on the kombuchas and teas, and I try to stay a lot of liquids in my body while I'm touring. Just to not get sick in general, juices, smoothies, things like that. We usually have a blender on the bus. But I drink a lot on tour, so physical, I have to counterbalance that, with the healthy stuff, with the intake of all the bad stuff I'm doing, alcohol-wise.
For sure. What about, like, going home? Have you ever dealt with, things like post-tour depression, or have you ever...
100%.
Like, talk about that, like what that is for people that have never heard about it.
It's a real thing. My friends kind of joke around about it, but anybody who's actually toured, and especially toured multiple times, it's a serious thing, and I don't think it's addressed, as seriously as it should be. I'm not saying I want to start a huge campaign about it, but somebody
Well,
could.
I mean, that's why we're talking about it here, because I think it's something that is very important that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, definitely, because like I said, it's real, and because you go from probably the highest high you can think of, like I'm not a big drug person, but nothing beats the high of doing what you do in general when you love it. But when you're on a stage like that in front of, even if you're in front of 50 people, I've played in front of 15,000 before. Any number in between there, it's the highest high you can think of when people are saying the words, and just you can feel the energy in the room, and it's a big thing to have all that positive energy in a room, and it's just with you the whole time. And then you get back on your bus and it stays with you for a little while, and then you talk about it the next day, and then you do it again, so it never really goes away. It doesn't have a chance to die off. And then when you come home to just
silence,
regular routine and silence, and you talk to your friends and they're still doing the same thing they were doing 2 months ago, which isn't a bad thing. It's just to you saw, something new every single day, or something definitely exciting happened at least every single day on tour, whether it was good or bad, but it's probably a story at least every day to tell. And, you come home and it's just kind of the same thing. And it takes about a week or two to come down from the tour. But when you decompress from everything and you get back into your regular thing, it kind of hits you and you're just like, you don't know what to do really, because there's not anything you can do except to go on tour again. And that's, you kind of chase that and wait for that to happen again. So for someone like me who, just waits around for that call that's like, hey, we're going out on the road, and I'm like, all right, there it is. I feel good again. Like, even knowing I have a tour months in advance helps me get through my regular life and the routine, because it's kind of like when you plan a vacation. If you plan it 8 months in advance, you're like, oh, you're counting your calendar down, you're looking forward to it. And it's the same thing. You have that to look forward to. But it is a hard thing to deal with. The only way I can ever deal with it is talking to other people who've been through it. And like I said, going out on the road again. We've been home for quite a bit this year, and it took me a while to get used to it. My relationships suffer from it, just because people don't understand that it's hard for you to go back to regular life when you do something like that. And if you've been doing it for years and years, it doesn't matter your celebrity level. It wears you down physically and mentally. And so when you come home from that, and you're just, you realize how regular things are. I don't mean to sound that in a bad way, but just in comparison, you're just like, that's not the same. Like, your problems aren't that big. You can do it. Like, some of the stuff you deal with on the road sounds like stuff out of a movie or a book. And then you hear somebody else's problems that's like, John spilled the water cooler today, and you're like, okay. It's just like regular, you're like, whatever. Like, tell me something cool. And if you just feel out of place and out of your little element, until you get back out there and do it again. But I want to hear more people talk about it, because it's almost addressed like a joke. Like, oh man, I'm home and I'm depressed, and like everyone throws that word around nowadays. And, and I feel like it's lost its weight, and it shouldn't have, because any form of it is serious. It could be, people take it as a joke or take things lightly, but if someone's really feeling it, doesn't matter how you apply it, it needs to be taken serious,
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And thank you for talking about it. I'm sure, a lot of people needed to hear that you've also been through something like that. It's nice to know that other people have been through it. When I got off of Warped Tour that we met on, it took me like 6 months to get home. You know what I mean? Like, mentally. Like, I wasn't, like, I lost a relationship over it. Like, I just didn't understand what was going on. I had no idea. And then it finally clicked, and I was able to address it. And I was like, wow, Warped Tour is really brutal.
Yeah, that was one of, if not the gnarliest tour I've been on, for sure. It was a dream of mine to do it. Like I said, because growing up, I was in punk and hardcore bands. And with my bands, we always, wanted to get on Warped Tour, and we tried to do every little contest they had and stuff like that. And never thought I'd be there in a hip-hop scene and DJing on Warped Tour. And it was cool because everybody on the tour, it's all the metalheads and punk guys and legends and newbies and everything come up to you and the guy I DJ for, and they're like, it's cool how you guys have more energy, if not the same energy as these guys who have 5-6 guys in their band, and like that happened probably the third or fourth day of Warped Tour. So hearing that just, solidified my happiness being there, because it was like, all right, we're not just here, we're actually like earning our way here. And Warped Tour is like a rite of passage almost, it's launched huge artists and kept legends going for years. So it's one of those things that, to be even the smallest part of it, like, I'll never forget that summer. That summer was amazing.
Yeah, and it goes for not only the artists, but it also goes for crew members. Crew members that do Warped Tour can get gigs for life from it. Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Yep, the connections on there. I remember getting there and thinking it was really political. There was cliques and things like that, and it was just people who have already been established and, been on it for years, and we were brand new to it and also out of place because we were hip-hop. So it was kind of like we struggled a little bit, but we made our connections and didn't get along with every single person, but for the most part, I have probably 40, 50 contacts / really good friends and people I've met through there, that I've seen since then multiple times, or when I'm out on the road, they'll come and show love at a show, or, if they're on tour, we show up and try to see everybody we can that comes through Arizona, just because, we kind of like when people do that for us. And if we're in your city, we'll come hang out with us. There's a mutual contacts built through there. I'm sad it's over, but I think with what they're doing, it's gonna work out. The smaller handful of shows across the country with bigger artists and things like that.
Yeah, I definitely hope they keep that going, because I think it's gonna keep that legacy alive even longer. So when for you did it go from just going on tour and trying to like make it and financially support yourself doing it to being able to full-time support yourself? When was that transition?
It was probably I would say, let's see, it was probably a few years back. I actually had been doing the same thing for a few years, and then it hit the discussion of like, I'm really doing this. Money was coming in from other artists that I was working with, and so I kind of was like looking at it like maybe my pay should go up. It wasn't ever really discussed because I'm not a money motivated person by any means. I love doing what I do. Money's kind of the bonus for me, but also I have bills to pay and a life to live. So it came to a point where it was just I talked about it with the people I was working with, and we figured it out. And I realized what I was worth when I was getting offers from other artists, and the offers they were giving me was 2-3 times what I was making at the time. And like I said, also I'm not money motivated, so I didn't just jump ship from my team. I stayed and had a conversation about I'm not leaving because of money, but I do need to make more. And then once I settled that and got all that straight, I was comfortable and haven't had any complaints since. So at that moment, I would say when I got the other offers, I realized what I was worth, and it got real for me. It was like, wow, these other people are willing to pay me this much, then I'm really doing something right, and people want me because of what I'm doing. And I even went and worked with other artists, and they would tell me, we need you to do this, this, and that. And I'm like, well, you called me, and so obviously you like what I do, and I can adapt to what you want, but also I'm going to bring what I bring to the table, and I can't just be a replacement DJ. Like if somebody else's DJ was sick or quit 2 days before a tour and they needed me, like I can't be exactly like somebody else, but I can do some of the things they do, but I'm also going to put my own spin on it and flavor, because that's what DJing is. Everybody can DJ. Everybody is a DJ these days, but it's a matter of what you do on top of it and how you present it and what your style is that's going to separate you from other people, because it's, not a hard thing to do, but it's definitely a hard thing to perfect and master.
Yeah. When it comes to like beats and things, what are you looking for when it comes to making your beats? What are you inspired by? Talk a little bit about your process for beat making.
When I'm making stuff, I'm usually in a darker place. Even to me, if it's a happy song, somebody else will hear it and they're like, "Oh, it's dark," and I use it to vent. I don't really make a lot of music for a lot of people. It's kind of a personal thing I do. I've put music out. I've done remixes. I do sounds and things for shows that we've done in tours. Like after this, actually, we're working on a whole tour audio intro for the tour coming up in the fall. So it's kind of, but the stuff I actually make, I'll just get in a mood. I'll wake up in the morning and feel a certain way and just base it off of feelings, not necessarily sound composure or, what notes I'm going to use. I'll just find sounds and I like how they feel. And if somebody, with music theory wants to come around and say, it's not this, it's not that note progression or whatever words they want to use, I'm like, that's fine. It sounds good to me. It feels good to me. And I make music based off that. It's a form of therapy. I'm getting more confident in putting stuff out and wanting to put stuff out now that I have, somewhat of a name built and people, like what I do and the little things I've sprinkled into shows. They're like, oh, what was that? Where can I hear that? And I'm like, all right, people like the little things I'm doing. I can sample them and put them out there and play 20 seconds of something I made. And if people go off to it, I'll be like, okay, I can work on that song and actually make it something. But a lot of my stuff is just synth-based, kind of cinematic. I want people to hear and see at the same time, if that makes sense. Like I like to close my eyes when I'm done making a song and be able to see what I just made through the audio. Not like I already saw the picture while I'm making the song. I just like to hear it and kind of see where my mind wanders visually, and that's how I base if I made a good song or not. If I can see it and it almost tells a story, you know, it progresses to just make you feel things and up and down waves and progression and things like that. And then also, you know, you got to make stuff that people want when it comes to it. Like that's probably the hardest thing for me production wise, is just, you know, people want simple hip hop beats and, you know, a couple instruments here and maybe a sample, and like I'm just too ADD for that. I need to change it up and have different sounds come in and out and make it weird, and you know, it's hard, but you have to do it when, you know, you got to simplify your stuff. And if you want to sell beats to people and put your stuff out there, you know, you got to make what they want also. You can't just be like, well, this is my sound and this is what I make. You know, you got to cater to other people, especially if you're trying to make it and get out there and do it. You know, there's producers and artists and everybody out there doing tons of things they don't want to do, but you got to do it to climb the ladder and get up there and, you know, make it work.
What were some of the goals you had when you started to see success from DJing? Did you set any goals and reach them?
Warped Tour was actually one of them, because we had the offer for it 2 years before we actually went out in 2017. And I don't really know the politics of it. I'm like the last person to know all that stuff. But I just know we didn't get it. But when I knew that that was an offer, I was like, wow, that if we can make that happen, you know. And I think part of the reason Futuristic took it was because he knew it's something I really wanted to do and we could knock it off the list. And that was one of them, definitely. But goal-wise, I feel like I still haven't reached mine. There's still some places I want to go in the world and just play shows. Japan's one of them. I haven't been there yet. I really want to go to New Zealand. And it's cool to like want to go to these places because they're not just travel goals, but nothing's better than going to a place and being able to do your job that you love and play for people in a different part of the world, you know? Like I've been to Europe a couple times now, and it's just amazing that music has that connection with people, and somehow they know every word in English but can't talk to you in English. You know, it's just a cool barrier to break. When you talk to somebody, you don't have to talk to them. You can feel it through the music and know that you're connected. So I would say probably the biggest one right now would be to knock off the few places that are still on my list to travel and play shows. I want to get my project done. It's been in the works for probably like 2 years now. I've just been slacking on it. Actually have an album out of my music. I just get in a place where I just don't feel like it's right, and I go back and scratch everything or restart over. And so that's probably the biggest one, is to have my own project actually come out. And then when it comes to the people I work with, I just want success around me, because that makes me successful. You know, if everybody's doing their thing and I'm able to help and back them up from behind the stage, you know, it's just gonna keep me in work too. So everybody that I work with, I just want them all to win, whether it's somebody I'm working with right now or just other artists, because I can talk to an opener at a show and he might just be some kid in a city, and in 4 years he might be huge, you know. So if I can connect with him and be cool and, you know, maybe play a set for him and, you know, keep in contact, and then if he needs some work, who knows where that person's going to be, you know. So if I can make other people, you know, successful and pass on knowledge or whatever I can do to help, then I feel like it'll come back at a different time in a positive way.
Absolutely. So talk about Futuristic moving out to Arizona, having the house out there. How has that been for you guys collaboratively?
I mean, as a squad, as our team goes, it's been amazing, because it's a giant workplace, but it's also a giant play place. So it's kind of, you know, we're able to shoot videos here, but also get the music done. He's able to do whatever he wants, basically, because it's 2 houses actually next door to each other, and he knocked down the wall in the middle of them. So it's basically he just walks next door to his one house, and that's the one he like lives in, you know, and nobody really parties over there, and, you know, everything's nice and neat. And then the other house, you know, you walk over and it's bright and colorful, and that's where the studio is, and that's where the roommates are, and that's where the game room is, and everything like that, the basketball court. So it's kind of, you know, a little bit of work and play right next to each other, and he's able to come and go and do what he wants. I think production wise, it's making everybody work a little more because it's all right there. We don't have to drive to the studio. We don't have to, do anything as far as videos go. We still do, but we don't have to. There's a whole green screen room here, so we could make anything we wanted to, video wise, barring effects and all that. But it's been really cool. I live probably 15 minutes from the houses, so I have, like I said, I have my space. So coming home from tour, I don't come home and live with them, but most of the other people on the team do. So for them, I don't really know how that goes all the time because I'm not here, but they seem to all get along. They have their little average roommate stuff here and there go down, but I think it's really good for our team just to have everybody right there because when somebody's working, when somebody's not, and you can push other people too. Like, hey man, I thought you said you were going to get this done. Oh yeah, let me get on it, versus not seeing that person and not knowing what they're doing.
Yeah, I think I need something like that. I live by myself right now, and it's like to the point where I have the motivational work, but I want that extra push from like having other creative roommates around. And so I'm thinking about like trying to give that a try, like maybe in like 6 months or a year. So I was kind of curious to hear about how that kind of went down as far as like creatively that goes. So it's cool to hear that it's super productive for you guys. So came out like 6 weeks ago. How's the response been to that? And talk a little bit about the feedback.
I know it's been overall positive. At first, it was a little bit shaky just because it's newer stuff. That's kind of been the looming cloud over us for like I would say the last year or so. It's just been what can we do to stay on top of the waves of music that come and go. Everything happens so fast now. 1 week this is the sound, next week it's that sound. This week people want to hear quote unquote real lyrics. Next week they just want to hear bars about this and that, and then the week after that they want to hear about the strip club. So it's hard to stay on top of all these topics. But with this one, I think the main thing was, and it's in the title, it's I Am, and it's actually a split project. The second half's coming out September 1st, and the second half is called Zachary Lewis, and it's kind of a split between like I am myself, but I'm also futuristic. So he's on this project kind of just doing what he wants to do, and then if you're on board with it, you're on board. If not, there's a whole catalog of old music you can go listen to and videos you can watch and all that. I mean, we still play some old songs in our sets, but we're trying to kind of get out of the older stuff, even though they've gotten us to where they've gotten us. But creatively it's hard because once you gain a fan base that are used to your sound and how you do things, and if you switch it even the slightest bit, everyone seems to get mad at you. And it's like, a lot of our fans we've had since 2012. At that time, they were like 15, 16. They've grown up now too. Not all of them want to hear that same stuff. So we have to grow with our fans. I think that's important. And I think it's also important for our fans to grow with us and not be closed-minded and think that we're just going to sound this way forever. Some artists do that. Some artists ride their wave of, I sound like this and that's how I'm going to always sound, and you're not going to get anything different from me. And I think a true creative is always trying to change and stay on top of different, waves, and not necessarily ride the waves, be the first one to ride it and be ahead of it and start the wave. That way other people are like, oh, I want to be a part of that, instead of jumping on what's already happening. Because nowadays, if you jump on a wave, it's already too late because by tomorrow it's going to be gone. So with this project, I think everyone was a little worried, because it's such a different sound. With the producer, Boylord, who did, 95% of the project, he came in with a different light on it, and musically it's just so creative. We were making stuff, all throughout the house with cans and buckets and pieces of wood and just everything you can think of, just recording everything. And then he was going in and just being a wizard and creating these sounds and melodies and things like that out of it. And we had hella creative people come through, different artists, local. Most of them were local. The band we rock with the most, the Color 8, they came through and did a lot of the sounds on there, and their friends and connections came through and did like background sounds and vocals and things like that. It's a big collaborative effort, just between friends and homies and just people around us. And I think it's really good. I'm really happy with the project. At first, I was kind of on the fence about it just because I'm looking at it from a live aspect. But now that I've heard everything and everything's been out for a while, I'm excited for the tour and the sounds. I'm a hype man, and a DJ, so a lot of the songs are more melodic and deeper, and he sings a little bit more. So it kind of puts me back, not being super hype and this and that, but I'm down for that. It's okay. I don't have to be jumping off the walls and doing all this stuff the whole time, especially if that's not where he's at, So I think it's going to be a different show this tour. But also, like I said, we're doing some of the older stuff, and some of the newer stuff is super hype, and it's got energy, and it's got a different energy live than it does on the project. So that's, to me, I don't really judge anything on a project until we play it live, and I can see the crowd's reaction and feel the energy in the room, because even with bands or any show you've been to, it could sound like shit live, or it can sound better live. Not everything sounds great when it's made in the studio just because it sounds too perfect. Sometimes it sounds better with that natural, live rawness to it. So I think with the newer stuff, it's gonna be a great tour, and I think everybody will be able to chill out and move forward. And the people who have been like, oh, I don't like the new sound, go back to the old stuff, are gonna be fully satisfied when both parts of the project are out. And there's some other things in the work that I'm not gonna talk about, but we're pleasing everybody. We're trying to. And we're also pleasing ourselves. Futuristic's got to do him, and if he wants to get some shit off his chest and do things his way, then the real fans will stick around, and the people who want to jump ship can. And like I said, they've got plenty of older songs and videos to go back and keep supporting that way. They don't have to like everything new, but I definitely think with everything that's coming, there's something for everybody. There's no way there's not.
As far as the studio stuff goes, are you, as like a DJ, are you getting any credits on the tracks? Or anything like that?
No, not on this project. I don't really do much studio stuff, especially on this project. Like I said, it was a lot of Boylord, and it was great to have him around with just all these new sounds and styles and things like that he brought to it. When it comes to that, I have my lane, which is performing live. I'm in the studio a lot when things are happening. I throw ideas in here and there, but where I come into play is I get activated when the show's on. The load in, the load out, the actual being on stage, sound check, everything like that. The rest of the stuff I'm kind of just there for support and throwing little ideas and perspectives in here and there. But when he has a vision with certain things, I just kind of step back and let them do their thing and let it come out the way it's going to come out, and I'll do my thing to it when it comes out live,
Yeah. Have you guys ever dealt with being screwed over on tour, not being paid by promoters? Have you ever had any experiences like that you can share?
Yeah, there's actually a pretty funny story I have about, what tour was that on? Let me think. So probably like 4 years ago, we pull up to a show in New Mexico, and one of the promoters was trying to tell us that he didn't have enough money for us when the show was already pre-sold out, and there was a line around the corner at the venue. And so he's just like, I can't pay you this much, blah, 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 it's going to be that much. Sorry about it. And Futuristic was like, all right, man, like, what's your PayPal? Grabbed his phone, was going to PayPal himself, and ended up paying himself the full amount from his phone, and was just like, all right, appreciate it, man, handed him his phone back. And because it was either that or the guy we had with us at a time was going to kick his ass. Like, he was our manager / security / loved to fight people. So he was ready to go, and it was like, look, you can either get your ass beat by this guy or, pay us the money that you owe us and that you have, because the show definitely made enough money to pay us and cover him and everything else. So it was funny just to see him do something like that, because he's about his money. He'll get it one way or the other. And, we've definitely gotten screwed over on things, but they usually get handled. I think a lot of that has to do with just, being smart when it comes to promoters and booking shows and certain things, and just being cool with people. If you don't fuck people over, they're not going to fuck you over and take your money and do anything like that. So usually we have pretty good luck when it comes to that. But also, I'm not around for that for the most part unless I hear about it later. So when it comes to the money and the business side of all that, when it's showtime, I'm out of the way.
For sure. Yeah, I totally get that. So talk about how social media has affected your career as a DJ.
I would say social media helps me in a sense of it's an advertising platform. Over the last, I would say 2 years, I've kind of fallen off of it. Honestly, I just kind of see it as like a fake thing, and I use it as a tool. It's not my life. I use it for music. I use it to stay in touch with friends and family. But I try not to be on it as much as possible, just because it kind of, affects you. And I've had relationships go south because of it. I've lost friends, girlfriends, because of this and that. When you're in a position of our position, being quote unquote famous, like I wouldn't even call myself famous, but around my friends or compared to my friends, like more than 10,000 followers on Instagram is famous to them, so it's like, what's it like to be famous and you must have girls all the time and this and that. Like it's brutal in a relationship because, you're getting DMs, you're getting hard eyes on your comments, you're getting this and that. And like, it's hard to explain to people that these are fans and you have to show them love back. Like not everyone who talks to you on social media is, a potential side piece or another girlfriend, or means you did something with somebody in a different city, like, or you took a picture with them. Like there's so many ways to track people down and look at them that I think on a personal level, it messes up a lot of things in people's lives. But as a tool, you can't get anything better, like, because it's connected everybody. I can hear music anywhere in the world now from somebody who has 2 followers, and I might like their song versus, what everybody's playing on the radio. And so I think as a discovery tool, it's amazing. And even expressively, it's cool to just see what people put out there and all the different medias and platforms that there is. But I try to stay away from it, from letting it consume my life. But like on tour, I use it a lot, just because people like to see where we're at, what we're doing, the funny things that are happening. But when I'm home, like I'm just kind of like, I don't feel the need to post a picture of my spaghetti. It's spaghetti. I don't need to show the world that, like, unless it's some crazy spaghetti or something weird happened, maybe I'll put it on my story or something. But as far as the success goes, though, I've been able to have people reach out to me through it and things like that. Like even how you reconnected with me, you're like, hey, right through Instagram, boom, it was right there. And I had your phone number too, you know what I mean? It's like, it was just an easier way to, you were thinking about it, you saw it was boom right there. It's fast, it's easy. I think it's great for things like that. But yeah, it's helped me because I've had a lot of people, almost everyone I've worked with actually connect me through social media at some point in time, unless I met them personally and then later down the road they re-hit me back up. But as far as work goes, though, a lot of it has been through social media. I met Futuristic through Facebook technically, so.
Wow. Damn, that's crazy, dude. So tell me, what is something you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
That's a super good question. I would say, you got me deep thinking. I'm gonna need like some deep thinking music here.
Only if you can supply. Can you supply the deep thinking music? Do you have anything?
Oh yeah, I can get you something.
All right, cool. I'll put it in place right here.
I would say don't hold back from anything. Like I tried to not hold back, but I really, looking back on the things that I've been through and done, that there was times that I did. And you have to take it all in and take everything you can, when it's right in front of you. I've been in cities and places around the world where I'll look back and be like, man, I really should have went and did that, and I hesitated and held back or had a different reason for not going or something. And I would do more, and not hold back on anything when it comes to things like that, because you never know when you're going to be back there or in this position. Like all this could end tomorrow and I would be happy with what I've done, but I want to do more, and there's more things I want to see and do in this world, especially when it comes to music and traveling and things like that. So don't hesitate and don't hold back when it comes to things, is what I would tell myself.
Awesome. And plug your social media. Where can people find you if they want to follow you or if they want to potentially hit you up for some work?
Okay. Instagram is @Kode Break, KODEBREAK. Twitter is at DJ Kode Break. I couldn't get the actual Kode Break handle because someone in Japan has it.
When you go to Japan, you can talk to them.
Yeah, I'll find them.
Give me my handle.
And then I got a couple songs on Spotify. Just search Kode Break. I got some playlists on there and things like that too. So it's all pretty simple to find. KODEBREAK, all one word.
All right, so that was DJ Kode Break. Thank you for coming on the podcast and talking to everybody about what it is that you do as a freelance creator. I had a blast talking to you, and it's always good to reconnect with friends, and I always love getting to talk to people that I've met before more about what it is that they do and what their passions are, because I think it just builds a stronger connection between us. And so, again, just thank you for coming on the podcast, man. I truly appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this episode of Project Freelance, please scroll down and give it a 5-star rating and leave some feedback so other people that are looking for podcasts to listen to might come across your feedback on this podcast and they'll give it a chance. Thank you in advance for doing that. If you guys are new to the podcast, please hit that subscribe button so you are notified whenever there is a new episode uploaded, which, by the way, is every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, just in time for your lunch. I hope you guys enjoy that every week. If you guys are into coffee table books, if you like photography, if you like abandoned places, if you like urban exploration, I have a photography book out now, and it is called No Tracers, an Urban Explorer's Diary. It is a collection of photos from abandoned places I've explored all over the United States and a couple internationally. And there's a bunch of stories in there about my explorations and things that I saw, discovered, and kind of felt when I was in these abandoned places. So if you want to check that out, head to justtheletterk.com/no tracers. And if you want a discount, use the code SPOOKY2019. Links will be down in the description. And there's also a bunch of affiliate links down in the description. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, if you guys need any of that stuff, please hit those affiliate links. It helps me out. It helps support the podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Project Freelance. My name is Kay Anagonio, and I will talk to you guys next time. Stay strong, keep enduring, go out and go create something.